Hello everybody, Scott Stevens coming up on Evening on Friday, 9 November 2012, and with all the talk of the storms in the east and the severe thunderstorms and the flooding, the big story absolutely across the bulk of the nation, at least square miles wise, remains the drought. This is the seasonal drought outlook, the drought tendency during the valid period, which runs through the end of January of 2013. And you can see from California across the Great Basin, Western High Plains, and then in a more spotty nature, as we move even into Georgia and the Southern Carolinas, drought is present. And in fact, only on the periphery, through the Golden State, through Montana, and across parts of the Dakotas, and into the Western Great Lakes states, is there anticipation for improvement of this particular drought. You can see with this map, when we've got the darker reds, this is extreme drought or exceptional drought. The brighter red is the extreme, the D3. The D4 is this brighter one, or this darker one that remains in place across much of Nebraska, western Kansas, Oklahoma, spots in Texas, and even spots in portions of Georgia, and then less intense, but nevertheless very widespread across the western U.S. as the watersheds out west were replenished nicely last winter, but the summer rains just have not happened. The monsoon rains, that is. As we look out, let's just start with the 1 month outlook, primarily focused on November, which we are halfway through, anticipating warmer than normal temperatures out west, and we'll likely get an updated forecast here shortly from the CPC, or the Climate Prediction Center. 3 month outlook, which takes us November, December, and January, above normal temperatures through the western states, and just slightly below normal as we move into Florida, with the precipitation outlook only along the eastern Gulf coastal states, with above normal precipitation anticipated, and even then it is just slightly biased in that direction. In the more immediate 6 to 10 day outlook, the cold that has been in place across the Dakotas, Great Lakes states, and even into the mid-Mississippi Valley now, in the wake of this nor'easter, will be replaced by a very strong warming trend that will persist through not quite Thanksgiving, but getting awfully close to that, with rains anticipated into the western U.S., in particular California, Oregon, and parts of western Arizona. That is certainly welcome. And then that rain in the west persisting through 17 to 23 November. At least that is their forecast for that area, and we're glad to see the rain. All right, surface map, eastern U.S., high pressure sitting across Alabama, arcing up through the Virginias, and then not quite yet muscled into New England is this low up here, is still in place, with another surge of chilly air working down from mid-Canada through Quebec. And as we get a little farther to the middle part of the nation, especially through Texas, upper 80s this afternoon as the Gulf is now wide open. The moisture plume is beginning to return as the dew points have pushed into the lower 60s as we move into Oklahoma and now into Texas, with that warm front now beginning to spin up across Concordia, Kansas. Another one west into west central Oklahoma, but with chilly, cold Canadian air, light rain, drizzle, freezing rain, sleet, all of that a possibility, with even a spot of snow across the Dakotas as that cold Canadian high pressure sitting in across northern Saskatchewan. We get north of that and head on up towards Alaska, and we've got temperatures minus 24, minus 18, minus 8, minus 3. So in every sense of the word, the wintertime weather is upon us. Lots of chemtrails reported today. A nice little swath of them moving into Florida. As we approached sunset, we could see them striping across some of these clouds across Alabama. A nice big old X or cross across northern Georgia. And these are just some of the brighter ones illuminated in that lower sun angle. And then they get extensive across Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, into Missouri. And Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin have been hammered today, and that is certainly the case even into the Dakotas as this next storm is evolving. Interesting little, let's see, we got a trail right through here, across Nebraska, pops out of this cloud, across this one, and then through this pulse in the sky, and then it makes a bit of a turn once it gets northwest of Council Bluffs, Iowa. But this is an odd straight line where this one trail hit numerous, well, points of interest, we'll call them, across Nebraska. See if we can't get that at a little bit of a closer look. But this is what the trails are up there to do. They're out there to mark and highlight and delineate areas of different energy going on in the weather. This is another rather odd formation across south central Missouri, with these concentric rings all forming around this particular shape. We've got some ripples and then another cross-hatching formation in far north central and northeastern Arkansas. So kind of some funky things in the clouds today. Pop a little further west, and the west remains unsettled. I'm up here against what was largely a mostly sunny day across the San Luis Valley, but I was under the clouds piled up against the mountain, so I didn't have a lot of opportunity to get the camera out and shoot planes, even though I heard but one over the course of the day. Reconcile that with the normal traffic that we're told continuously that these planes are, and you'd have a tough time. Still lots of these holes. When you see these holes in the clouds, we often see change of direction in the cloud billows. So these holes are rather important for orienting the formation of the clouds. Into the surface map, here's the storm that has entrained that nor'easter. It is now beginning to weaken up and head a touch towards the Maritimes. High pressure is pushing in with cold air on the leading edge of that, pushing out this storm. The winds will simmer down. The nights will be cold, but that's a given as we move into the middle 10 days of November with the next low out west. So ahead of this, temperatures every bit of 15, 25 degrees above normal. Behind this storm, 15 to 25 to 30 degrees colder than normal. So quite a contrast is going to be set up along this frontal system. This one right here, this one that is just now working through the Great Basin, then in about 2 days' time will be working into western Kansas. That is going to usher in a big change in weather. The bigger story with this storm is that it is a slow mover. It is a deep storm, has deep access to Gulf moisture, but it's going to be a slow mover. So look for heavy rains northeast Texas, eastern Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and into the southern lake states. And then it finally begins to kind of lift out towards the northern lakes. This energy kind of comes out as the ridge, which is in the western Atlantic, says, nah, you're not moving in here just yet. So this storm essentially has to spend all of its energy, extend that energy, expend it trying to climb this ridge, of which it'll only meet with marginal success. So that means the cold front will probably not likely reach it into Florida, but just into deep southern Georgia before it then pulls off to sea. And once that happens, we're looking at Tuesday morning, and we've got another baggy trough coming off the west coast, meaning this onshore flow should drive a deeper marine layer inland. That means more clouds for Portland, more clouds for Seattle, more clouds and fog and low clouds for the California coastal areas. But this trough is beginning to amplify a bit farther to the west than the models have suggested the last couple of days. So I'm kind of hoping that as we get to Thursday, Friday next week, 14, 15, 16 November, that we can get some rains into Southern California, Santa Cruz Mountains, south of San Jose into San Francisco. That would be nice, because otherwise the rest of the nation looks fairly tranquil as we move through the middle of November. Satellite imagery, this is the infrared shots as we look across Florida. We'll throw in a little bit of enhancement, and we'll see all of this that's coming through here is chemtrail debris, chemtrail cloud cover as it enhances. So the sunsets across the Florida Panhandle, southern Georgia, southern Alabama, probably covered with those particular trails. When we look out west, this one just happens to be updating. And what I wanted to show you was that those trails that were in place across Florida extended all the way through Tennessee, along the leading edge of this storm, and then intersecting with the primary plume of moisture up over the Dakotas. And so that is, let's just say it was full of abundant trails today. Through the west, this is where the showers, where we've got the blue and whites, and the pink is showing a mixed aspect of precipitation. And that unsettled weather is going to be mostly focused on the western states. Have these spikes, you see those marching across the country. Those are the radar sites actually getting EM signatures or EM signals off of the sun as the sun kisses the horizon or half degree above the horizon when these particular radars are scanning the horizon. But that's where the rain and snow is now. We're anticipating some heavier snow through western Montana, but that was last night. It's now focused into parts of Wyoming, where again they are deep in drought, and any moisture they can get is certainly welcome. Here's the remainder of the trough through the western states, and I keep looking for chemtrails to show up in this particular jet stream off the coast of Siberia and out into the mid-Pacific and even western Pacific. And I'm not seeing a lot of activity today. Doesn't mean they're not there, but I'm not seeing a lot. And so we'll see if that changes as the jet stream gets a little more focused, or we have high value weather programs or a high value weather event that would be looming on the horizon. In just a second, we'll take a look at some chemtrails. I want to grab another, well, essentially it's a time lapse from December 21, 08. So it's almost 4 years old. This was a time lapse that I shot up in Fort Collins when I was up there. Nice big trail all in through here. You can see all of these little waves that I'm pointing out right in through here, and then a big old notch where the previous trail comes across through here, and then there's this essentially a cube that the trail takes at that point. And you can see how it deforms as we put it in the animation. But then notice how this plane right here comes along, and we can go back frame by frame, and I'm shooting at a 5-second interval. It hit this, how do I want to say this boldest point, this farthest push of this previous aspect of the chemtrail, and then right across this knot, right through there. I mean, the precision is incredible. It's exquisite. Another trail through here, essentially denoting where this trail essentially fails visibility, but something is happening right here that was worthy of them flying these planes through. And we'll go frame by frame, watch the plane hit the top, another one coming from this side, boom, right there, through the middle of it, out the biggest extent, then hit the farthest extent of this essential push of a previous trail, and then it continues on. And then what's interesting is watch how this trail right here, as I kind of shift the camera, look how it folds over. And there's this big push. And we can step back and see how the trail here, which was a straight line, then deforms. It deforms up to the upper left. So we had essentially a cross trail here and a flat line here. But some reason, the trail decided to bend, to kink, to accordion right in through there. And this is what the trails are so good at doing, is illustrating what the atmosphere is doing, how all of these separate segments, and they don't seem like they're separate segments of the atmosphere, but they are. And that's what the trails reveal, is just how differently they're all interacting. And without the trails, and without the particulates these trails are introducing into the sky, you would never see all of these waves, all of these kinks, all of this activity that is being introduced into the sky. And then we have standing waves. You can see these standing waves. These waves are remaining stationary as the cloud, the debris, the moisture, all of it continues to flow across these standing waves.